All right, kings and queens, get ready as we sit down with Drea Renee, the extraordinary massage therapist turned host. And let me tell you, I've been waiting literally months to do this interview. I had to build up my content before I even reached out to her. So I've been looking forward to this for a long time. Drea recently stepped onto the poker tables at events like Poker Stars, Poker Power, Women's Bootcamp Showdown, and the European Poker Tour, the EPT Cyprus. So, join us in an intriguing conversation exploring the lessons from her show's success, the doors it opened, and the thrilling experiences in the poker world. So, welcome, Drea. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Wow. Thank you so much for that intro. You just hyped me up. I feel amazing. And thank you for reaching out. And I'm super excited to be here. This is so cool.
Thank you so much. I know you are very busy and you have a lot going on. So let's not waste any time. Let's get right into it. So I like to start from the beginning, or at least my introduction to you was through Deep Issues. And as I told you before we started, so I used to deal for the World Series of Poker as a dealer in Vegas. And I saw you on WPT and I was like, man, she looks so familiar. And then it all came back full circle. And then as a massage therapist, you had the opportunity to interview a lot of the poker players, celebrities, in a show called Deep Issues. So, can you share the inspiration behind creating Deep Issues and how the concept of combining poker interviews and massages came about?
Absolutely. So, Deep Issues came about from one of the producers that was working when it was Poker Central at the time. So, I
Okay.
was doing a lot of hosting, but I wanted to incorporate how I actually got into poker, which was massage therapy, and then also the interviews. So, he had this idea of why wouldn't you massage the poker players and interview them? And I thought, "Oh, that's such a good idea." And it also helped me, give people massages, really get to know them. It really helped me with my clientele and my business. And so we kind of like, workshop the name a little bit, and then Deep Issues made the most sense. And so it was just a way to sort of introduce me into the media arena, and then also highlight how I got into poker.
Okay. And so, did you have a relationship with, I guess it would be the producer? Did you have a relationship with them prior to getting into the poker world, or is that someone that you met through massaging?
Well, I initially got my start in the Heartland Poker Tour, and
Okay.
Maria Ho was my entry into that.
Ah,
So she knew that I did TV stuff, and so when they had an opening, she said, "Hey, they're looking for a host. Would you be interested?" And so that was sort of my entryway. And then from that job, the producers saw my work there and then brought
okay.
me into Poker Central, which came with Deep Issues and the 411s and all the other work that I did there. So that was sort of
Okay.
how I got into it. It was this job to this job. And that's essentially how it is in this industry. You got to put yourself out there, create
Right.
content, and people get a chance to see how you work, and then they bring you on for other projects.
Okay. Did you go to school for media and broadcasting?
I went to University of Texas for radio, television, and film, so I got familiar with all the aspects of behind the camera. And then while
Okay.
doing that, I was in acting class, theater, all the things, doing stuff on camera. I love a microphone and a camera. And I love saying my piece. So, yes, have a lot of experience.
Yeah, I was watching your Instagram reels, and it just brought joy to me because sometimes I was one of the bloopers, and you were singing, and it just looks like you're having the time of your life. You enjoy what you do, and you're passionate about what you do.
I really am, and I think it can be really stressful. There's a lot of changes, especially in poker, where there isn't always, "Hey, this is what we're gonna do for sure," because people bust out. You make plans, "Oh, I'm gonna interview this person," then they're not in the
Oh,
tournament anymore. You have
wow,
to really
yeah,
be ready to roll with the punches of, "Hey, this person's gone. We gotta find somebody else." Or, "Hey, we were gonna interview that person, and they just lost a big hand. They don't feel like doing it now." So there's a lot of
wow.
things that change while you are planning in poker.
Mhm.
So as a host in this industry, you really have to be on your toes and ready for
Right.
anything. I feel more so than, other industries, in my opinion.
Okay. Now that's a great segue to the next question. What valuable lessons have you gained from your unique approach to interview poker personalities and celebrities? And how has that success of deep issues or working at the Heartland Poker Tour opened doors for your career?
Well, yeah, as I just said, it definitely helped keep me on my toes and just ready for anything. I think as a host, always you have to be ready because you'll have maybe somebody in your ear, you're listening to your guests, and you're possibly thinking about your next question. And then also you're hoping that they're not going to answer your next question because then you have to come up with something else. There have definitely been vulnerable times during interviews where I'm thinking to myself, I have no clue what I'm going to say next. Like that happens, and it happens to everybody, and you just
Yeah.
have to just take your gut instinct and make it work, and I've always been able to do that, but that's just some of the true behind the scenes of what can go on in your mind, and so I think those things have really helped me in my career, and then moving forward, it's helped open doors because people have seen the content, they appreciate my work, and I'm really in the poker community in a way
Right.
that other hosts aren't because I'm a massage therapist as well. So I've had a lot of personal time with some of these players. So it
Okay.
does add a different layer to my interviews because I really know them in a different way
Right.
that, say, another on camera host would not.
Right. Yes. Because you're more inclined to ask those maybe deeper questions because you already have a relationship with them. So that works out perfect, right?
Or I don't ask certain questions because I know their personality and I
Ah.
know that they
Ooh.
don't wanna talk about that. So there have been times with different companies that I've worked with where they're thinking, "Ooh, it'd be so fun to ask this question," and I go, "No, no, 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 no. I'm telling you, this person is not gonna do the interview. They're not gonna answer these questions. I know them."
Wow.
And they go, "Oh, okay. Thank you, Drea."
Yeah. Were there times where there was maybe friction and you were like, no, this isn't going to work? And they're like, no, no, you need to ask this question?
That is very interesting that you asked me that. This actually happened recently where there
Okay.
was a little bit of back and forth about a question. I went ahead and asked the question and it did not go over well. And I thought to myself, this is why I didn't want to ask the question. The player ended up being a little bit upset about it. And
Oh, man.
yeah, so there are definitely times, and especially in a moment like that where I want to go with my gut instinct of make that journalistic decision to not ask the question
Okay.
because I already know, you know? And a lot of times when I'm doing some of these interviews, it is after they've busted out of a tournament. I just did the WPT event, the $1 million buy-in for the one drop. That is huge to talk to these men afterwards they just lost this tournament, you know what I mean? And I say
Right.
men because there were
Right.
no women involved. But
Okay.
yes, it's really, stressful. They lost a $1 million buy-in tournament, and I'm over here going, "Hey, are you happy with the way you played?" You know, it's and they will answer it, they'll do it, they know me, but it's a lot of pressure.
Right. Well, so you said that the fact that there are no women involved, and I think let's hit on that. Well, first, let's talk about your experience at Poker Stars Poker Power Women's Bootcamp. So, could you tell us about your experience participating in the Poker Stars Poker Women Bootcamp? I'm surprised I have not fumbled over that yet. If I have, my apologies.
I know.
The sh-
It's a mouthful. It's a mouthful.
yeah. And how did it feel to be a part of that event?
I would just emphatically like to say that any woman that is thinking about getting into poker, if you know absolutely nothing about poker, poker power is the way to go.
Okay.
I've been in poker a really long time and I understood the game, but poker power took me to the next level. So
Okay.
if you are looking at poker from a really fundamental space where you almost know nothing, poker power, even if you do know a little bit of something like I did, it was super helpful. It really breaks things down in such a way that anyone could understand it. Because there were spaces where I thought, "Oh my gosh, I'm never gonna be able to understand this game," but Poker Power really took my playing to a different level. So it was
Gotcha.
such an amazing experience. It really focuses on helping women get comfortable. It focuses on decision making, leadership skills, all these things that come up while you're playing poker and getting you comfortable at the table. Now, obviously, any poker player will tell you it's a journey. You got to keep playing, you got to keep doing
Hmm.
it, learning all these
Right.
things. But it really does set you up with the basics for playing at a table. And I know it can be intimidating for women to sit down with a bunch of men, and men can just assume all kinds of things about you. I remember I played my first tournament and I'm not saying a word. I'm just sitting there focusing on my game. I'm still learning. I'm like, "Wait, is it my turn? Am I under the gun? What's happening?" I'm just trying to watch the action. And these guys are just, for lack of a better word, heckling me. And
Okay.
I was just thinking, I'm not even saying anything. I'm just
Right.
sitting here like, oh, you're not going to show your hand. Oh, you had this hand. Oh, she doesn't want to play. And I'm just thinking, oh my gosh, this is crazy. So,
Right.
Poker Power, I highly recommend it to all women that want to get into poker because it is a great program. And from that boot camp, I ended up going to Cyprus. They had a tournament at the end of the boot camp, and they sent 10 women to Cyprus, and it was such an amazing experience. I can't There aren't even words to say and express how
Okay.
amazing that experience is. So I
Awesome.
highly recommend it.
Awesome. So how did you fare in the tournament?
I got 5th in the tournament. I gotta say, I learned a lot, but it is such an emotional game. And I think for me, I don't know if I could ever play on the level of it being my entire career because I was just playing very small stakes online. And sometimes it wasn't even for money. And I almost threw my laptop over the balcony. I was like, this is wild. I don't know how people do this. And you have to just sit there and just you could play perfectly and the
Yeah.
cards just go, it's not your day.
Right. Right.
And you just have to deal with it.
Yep. Yep. So I've been diving into the stock market a little bit, and I think the fact that I'm a poker player and some of the things that you can't control, I just kind of laugh at. It's like, well, I don't have any control over that. It's just kind of like poker. Like sometimes that two outer, that one outer is gonna hit. It's going to happen. It's math, and you just have to try your best to leave the emotions out of it. But we all are human. It's going to happen. Yeah.
Yeah. Leave your emotions out of it. I'm thinking to myself, this is going to be a bit of a challenge for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so, in your journey with poker and through poker, how has the game contributed to your personal growth and development, both professionally and personally?
The game has had an interesting impact on my life. Poker has essentially changed my entire life, to be honest with you. Just not even playing, but on just working in the industry. I've been able to travel the world. I've met all kinds of people. I've made amazing friends. I've learned a lot about myself. On the aspect of playing, those
Yeah,
decision making skills, when you are down to the wire, you have to make a decision. There have been
yeah,
times in my life where I felt really indecisive. And I think poker calls on you to show up and you have to make a decision a decision's made for you and your hands, mucked and that's it.
yeah,
But leadership skills, confidence for sure. It is intimidating to sit down at a poker table, especially if you are still figuring out what you're doing and being
right,
a woman. That's a whole other thing. So it's really helped me in my confidence in life for sure.
right. What if now, if there was a young lady who wants to get into poker, but she also knows and understands how brutal the men can be? What advice would you give them? Or would you even sometimes discourage people from getting into the game because you know how nasty it can be?
This is a tough question because I love the poker community, but if you're in it for more than 10 minutes, then you will have a vision of, what the general attitude is at times because overall, people are losing money. They're losing
Yes,
money. They're not
yes,
in the best headspace. So it's going to call on people to not be in the best moods. The energy is going to be weird. So I feel if you're going to go into poker, you really need to have thick skin. And as you
yeah,
said, be able to put your emotions aside or at least pause and deal with it later. Have an outlet for that. Because if you don't, then you're going to end up really upset all the time because it will
right,
it will it will play with your emotions. So I don't know if I fully will encourage people to join the poker industry as their full-time career, but as something to do because it's fun and it keeps your brain active. But
right.
other than that, I'm not like telling everybody to run to go play poker.
Right. I think maybe there's a big difference between cash games and tournaments. Because tournaments, it's it's survival of the fittest, it's dog eat dog, and maybe cash games. So in your tournament, you don't get to pick your seat, you don't get to pick who you're playing with. In cash games, you have a little bit more control, and so if you're at a table where I don't like the vibe here, you can pick up and go to another table and play
Right.
someplace else. Yeah, so maybe that'll be better. Somebody that's just getting into poker, if if you do aspire to play the game, maybe cash games will be a little bit better, more
Yeah.
pleasant experience.
Well, to be honest, I think in my opinion, it's a personality type. And
Okay.
I know that there are definitely people who are more suited for cash games because you can get up when you want, you can leave when you want, you can do what you want. However, that is a little bit dangerous because it's consistently open, right? It's 24 hours if you go to a casino.
Ooh, I
Whereas
didn't
if
think
you
about
are
that.
a
Yeah,
tournament player,
yeah,
yeah, especially those, it's gambling at the end of the day. So if you have an addictive personality, I'd always say, tread lightly because cash games you can drown. Whereas a tournament, you stay focused on tournaments, then it ends. You bust out, it's over, you're done. Yes, you can maybe join another tournament, but you got to reset. You got to start over. You pay the buy-in, that's
yes,
it. You're not rebuying,
yes,
rebuying, rebuying.
yes. That's a great way to look at it as well. That was awesome. Thank you, thank you. All right, moving on. Let's talk about a little bit about balancing poker and your media career together. So, with both a successful media career and active participation in poker events, how do you balance those two aspects in your personal life and
In
professional
the
life?
in the beginning, it was really difficult to balance the media part and the massage therapy part because I think I was focused on keeping my clientele in a way. And there were days where I had to do both, and it was really mentally strenuous. And as far as my personal life, balancing my personal life, poker, media and massage therapy, that is really difficult. That is an interesting
Yeah.
balance. And, if I can be super candid, with dating, it's never easy because
Okay.
I'm surrounded by men. I'm massaging men mostly and also on camera. So these things can be a little jarring, especially if I'm dating someone that's not familiar with the industry. So at times it's been easier to date within the industry just because there's no need for an explanation. They kind of get how everything works. But if I
Okay.
have dated outside of the industry, that can be a little bit tough for sure.
Okay.
But it's in the beginning of going on camera, transitioning, it was difficult because people were a little bit confused. Oh, I thought you just massaged and oh, you do TV. And then there was a little bit of a lull in my career where I wasn't doing it for a little bit and I went back to just massaging and then back and forth. And so yeah, some of that balancing was a little difficult at times.
Okay. Now, when you're away from the poker scene, out of the casinos, out of that environment at all, or altogether, what do you like to do to unwind and enjoy your day?
To unwind and enjoy my day, I very much enjoy karaoke. It's my favorite
Okay.
thing
Okay. I
in
can
the
see
world
that.
to do. I love it. I love a microphone. I really do. And I love to put on a performance. And so it's one of the things that actually calms me down. And ironically, poker. Poker does calm me down. It shuts my brain off because I'm laser focused in, especially where I am in the game, my level of playing. I'm very focused on what I'm doing. And so everything else just kind of goes to the side. So I very much enjoy karaoke. I enjoy playing poker. I work out pretty much every day. So that's also a big part of my life where that is how I unwind, or meditation, which is also really important, and reading.
Nice. Okay. Do you ever wrote music or maybe wanted to perform yourself?
Well, I was in band in college
Okay.
and high school. I play the drums, so I
Oh,
am
nice.
musical.
Okay.
And as far as I actually wrote a song when I first moved to LA, and I actually have to find it. Oh my gosh, it was so terrible.
Okay.
But I did write a song and it got produced, and the producer was actually kind of not a good guy. But that's another
Oh.
episode. It's
Okay.
okay. And, yeah, so I'm not musically trained as far as singing or anything goes. I can hear when I'm off pitch or the note's not
Okay.
making sense, right? Like, I know my range, and I'm not a falsetto, okay? Won't ever try to do that. Only in the car and in the shower. But, yeah, I'm definitely musical, and so creatively, that's why karaoke, I love doing it because I love singing.
Okay. Yes. Yes. Now, you're the type of person who likes to get friends together and go karaoke, or you love it so much you will go to karaoke by yourself or maybe at home?
I will absolutely go karaoke by myself because
Okay.
unfortunately, I don't have a lot of friends that love the stage and love to sing like I do. There are a
Yeah.
few, but there's not a lot. So usually I
Okay.
make people go on my birthday.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Awesome. Awesome. I like it. I like it. Let's go back to a little bit to the interviewing. So, out of all the guests you've interviewed on other all your assignments, who was the most memorable and why?
I would say the most memorable to date, there's two. Jungle Man is always going to be great to interview
Okay.
because you just never know what's gonna come out of his mouth, and you really have to be on your toes 'cause he could just ignore your question, he could just say something else, he could go on a tangent, it's just he's full of surprises, that one, so
Hmm.
every time
Hmm.
I've interviewed Jungle Man, it's always been really fantastic because 'cause I'm like, "I had no idea that was gonna happen. That's great. Did we
Okay.
get that on camera?"
Yeah.
And then Kevin Hart, when I was doing Deep Issues, Kevin Hart was a great interview. I mean, he's Kevin Hart, so he's so funny, and
Right.
I've known him for a long time, so I had a great time doing that interview. He was very candid, and it was really lovely.
Awesome. Awesome. So that hit the next question. That says, "Is there any surprises?" Well, Jungle Man's definitely full of surprises. Were you ever like nervous because you don't know what he's going to say?
Well, I will say one of the surprises that is a little bit behind the scenes is that I host the poker awards every year. And a lot of times we will have our guests list down of this is who is coming. And then last minute, maybe that person didn't show or they got sick or they decided not to come or, you never know. And I have to quickly decide of who the next guest is gonna be, and it could just pull anyone, and so you're like, "Surprise, this is who you're interviewing." All that prep you did for that other person is out the window, so
Okay.
you gotta be on your toes.
Okay. What projects are you currently working on, and can you give us a sneak peek into anything that's coming your way that the masses are not familiar with?
Well, right now, I as you guys do know because WPT posted it. So I did
Okay.
recently work with WPT. We are looking into where that's going to go in the future. There could be some possible really cool jobs coming up in the next few months. So be on the
All right.
lookout for that. I
Okay.
also, outside of poker, have two podcasts about relationships because that's another subject I'm
Okay.
really passionate about and helping people get out of toxic patterns, create healthy boundaries, keep those healthy boundaries, and so I talk a lot about that on my podcast called Open Late and The Token and the
Like,
Truth with my co-host Freddie B. So yeah, those are
okay.
the two things I'm currently working on. Full-fledged, like full on working.
Okay. You talked about what specifically I want to hit on the black and brown community, those generational curses. What kind of advice do you give some of the viewers that might be going through that? How do you break those generational curses that's been happening in the family for years, maybe even centuries,
In relation to working in the industry,
or in the industry as well, and just in our personal lives as well?
breaking those curses, it's a heavy cross to bear, but I feel we are getting better. But I think you're always going to have to be conscious of what your skin does to people. It's
Ooh,
unfortunate, but you always have to be conscious of this is going to affect somebody in this room. It just is, and especially in a community where there aren't a ton of people of color that are, we obviously have Phil Ivey, right? There's Ebony
yeah,
Kenny. We have some faces, Maurice Hawkins, Dewante, Will Gibbons. We have some faces out there, but there still aren't a lot of
few and
coverage,
far between.
right?
Yeah,
And so it being a more homogenous community on the other end, you do get some slack. I definitely got slack being the host of Poker After Dark. Not everybody was happy about that. There were definitely
okay.
people who had some issues with that, and they were vocal about it.
Hmm. Hmm.
And these are things that you have to be aware of. And then unfortunately, we do have to work harder. You have to work harder. You can have another person show up with the minimum work, but we can't do that. You gotta go above, you gotta be on your game because you can't give, unfortunately, any reason for anyone to be like, "Well, she's got to go. If they're
Right.
already on the edge about you, right? So you got to show
Mhm.
up, be prepared, and do the work. And so you have to have the skin to know that that's what it is. And if you don't want to deal with that, then I'd say don't get in the industry. But as far as personally, you just got to do your part, right? You just got to do your part. Talk to your family, talk to your kids, talk to the next generation, and just sort of plant those seeds as best you can because we can't change an entire society in one day. These things are
Mhm.
incremental, and we hope that over time it will get better. But as of now, you have to deal with what the truth is, and that will be this matters. And
Yeah.
that's just what it is.
Yeah. So this is great because I just recently saw a movie, and I typically do not go see these movies because when I go to the movies, I want to be entertained, or I want an action movie, or I want to laugh, or I might even want to cry. But there was a movie I went to AMC, and you have no idea what film you're going to see. It's called AMC Screen Unseen,
Oh,
and it's
okay.
like on it. Yeah, it's on its $5 Tuesday nights, and I go see three movies a week because I have the A-list pass. But this film it's titled Origin. Have you heard of that movie yet?
No.
So absolutely go check it out. It's not going to probably be a movie they're going to market hard, and it's not really something that most people are going to go to the movies to see because they kind of want to escape those conversations rather than go to the movies and hear about it more. But it hits on caste systems, and it's directed by Ava DuVernay, and it's actually based
Oh,
on and I believe Isabel, if I can remember off the top of my head, it's Isabel Wilkerson is the author, and that's what the movie's about. And she writes a book about caste systems, and it is an absolutely amazing movie. So definitely, if it's not this weekend, I believe it's coming out next weekend. Definitely
okay.
give it a watch. It was amazing. Yeah,
I will for sure.
yeah. All right. To close it out, because I know that was a heavy topic. Um, ad- so, advice for any poker enthusiasts. So, for individuals aspiring to enter the world of media and poker, what advice would you give them based on your experiences?
Do your homework is my biggest advice. Know who you're interviewing. Make sure you have backup questions. Be prepared for attitude changes. Be ready to go with the flow. Be ready for anything. That is my biggest advice. Also, have etiquette in knowing when and when not to approach a poker player and knowing what the
Okay.
buy-in is and understanding the game because most of them understand the game they play, but there's the occasional host that doesn't really know, and so
Yeah.
that you got to be understanding that, especially getting these interviews on breaks, 15-minute
Yeah.
breaks, they want to go decompress, not talk about
Yeah.
what their favorite song is. So,
Yeah.
but we got to do it. And that's the other thing too. That's the flip side is that they need us and we need them. So we have to work together. And that's just what it
Okay.
is.
Yes. I'm going to throw in one more question, and then I have a closing question. This is from a friend. What was it like working with Lynn Gilmartin?
Lynn Gilmartin she is an absolute joy. She's an
Okay.
absolute doll. She's a gem. She's so professional. She's so kind and she's so helpful because there are definitely people in the industry that aren't like that in any industry, not poker, just entertainment that
Yes.
aren't
Yes.
interested in helping you. But she speaks from her heart. She is a doll. She was
Awesome.
beautiful to work with.
Okay. Amazing. Great. I'm glad I got it. I'm glad I had the opportunity to ask that question because it looked
Yeah,
like
she's
you
wonderful.
wanted to put that out there. So that's awesome. Awesome.
Yeah, I definitely do. She's great.
Okay. All right. In our closing question, can you give me one woman and one man from the poker community that really hasn't had their flowers yet? Somebody that you probably haven't seen interviewed, uh, that you would like to see as a guest on this show or any show, to be quite honest.
That I haven't seen interviewed, I would say, I mean, I've seen this person interview, but I want her to get more flowers, and that's Ebony Kenny. I think she's
Okay.
amazing. She's obviously a face in poker, but I
Yeah.
just want her to be like out, out. You type
Okay.
in woman in poker, and I want it to be Ebony Kenny. I think
Okay.
she's amazing. I really, really do. And as far as guys go, it's that's a tough one for me because most of the men that I interact with are like, they're already in the scene. So, I
Yes.
mean, I'd say Will Givens. Will Givens isn't good. And I haven't seen him in an interview at all. And I feel like
Okay,
as a man of color, like he would definitely be great to see like his
absolutely.
perspective and experience. Maurice Hawkins as well. You know,
Yeah,
he's out there, but he could definitely, all the exposure, especially in the poker community, I think would be great.
yeah. He's there is it was poker. I'm giving them a shout out on this. It was Poker After Life, and they interviewed him recently. And obviously, Maurice is a confrontational character, so that
Really?
is
I
definitely
had no idea.
so yeah, that definitely be must must see TV. So absolutely,
But
he would be
you
another
know
person.
what's so great is like he's polarizing in a way
Yeah.
where whether you hate him or you like him, there's a feeling and you watch him. So,
Yes. Yeah.
we need
Yeah.
those people in poker though. We got to keep it with some of the characters and interesting instead of the like hoodie and the thing and
Yes.
we need some personalities. We do.
Absolutely, absolutely. Not just people that just feel like they're just computing numbers in their head constantly, and they're
Yeah. Keep it
antisocial.
fun a little bit.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for doing this. Like I said, I literally started this and I built it up, and you are on my wall, on my list of people that I wanted to interview in the community. So I truly, truly appreciate you taking the time to do this. Hopefully, we'll be able to touch base in the future
Yes.
as well. Yes. So thank you so much. I hope all of you, all the blessings, all the good luck, send it all your way on and off the poker table. And I'll continue to watch you on your social media and in everything that you do. So thank you so much for joining me today. I truly appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me on. You were such a delight. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, guys, until next time, thank you for joining me. Make sure you watch All in Society and Friends. Make sure you share it with your friends and family. Peace.